I am pleased to invite with me on stage Bogdan Iordache, our board manager and co-founder, and Jack Newton, the CEO and founder of Clio, who came all the way from Canada to share his story. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Jack.
Hello.
Let's take a seat here and get comfortable and discuss some stuff. So we had the chance to have a conversation yesterday with Jack, who told us more about his entrepreneurial story. I mean, I guess that people don't know you and they don't know Clio too much. So can you start by telling us, what do you do? What is Clio?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jack Newton, CEO and founder of Clio, and Clio is a cloud-based practice management system for lawyers. So what it allows lawyers to do is basically manage every aspect of running a law practice, from client intake to managing the work related to their projects, tracking time, generating a bill for their clients, and securely collaborating with their clients. Sometimes we describe Clio as like Salesforce.com for lawyers, in the same way that a salesperson would just live in Salesforce all day long. A lawyer, when they're doing their work with Clio, does their work in Clio. And we now have over 30,000 law firms around the world using Clio, and have about 175 employees in the company. And we're headquartered in Vancouver, Canada, but we also have offices in Toronto, Canada, and Dublin, Ireland.
You've been pretty successful in terms of growing the company. You've raised $20 million, I think, last year in a Series C.
Yeah, our Series C was led by Bessemer Venture Partners. Just about 2 years ago, actually, we closed that round. And previous to that, we raised a $6 million Series B, which was led by Acton Capital and Point 9 Capital, both of which are European VCs, which was interesting. And our Series A was $1 million, led by Christoph Jans back in 2009.
It's really interesting because yesterday I had a fireside chat with Uldis from Infogram. Infogram is also backed by Point 9 Capital.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a small world. Hello, Uldis. Now that we know, how we stand today, let's go back to the beginnings of Clio. How did you start a CRM tool for, well, not a CRM tool, but like a management tool, project management tool for lawyers?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. My background is in computer science, so I'm a technology guy. And I founded Clio with my best friend of 20 plus years now. We met in elementary school back in grade 3 when we were like 8 years old. And we're best friends through high school, and we both went off to university and did technical degrees. And when we graduated, we both got jobs. I got a job at another startup, actually, and he got a job at a law firm, and as the IT manager at a law firm. And what we always wanted to do was, find an interesting problem domain that we could build a company on top of. And we were kind of looking for industries that were, needing to be revolutionized and transformed by technology, and we stumbled across this huge opportunity in legal back in 2007, where we saw, this is an industry that is still operating in the same way it did in the 1800s, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could take a lawyer out of a law court from 1850 and transport them to 2007, and they'd be able to do the job fine. Technology really had not impacted the space at all. And we thought, back in 2007, we saw what we thought was a very obvious trend to the cloud, and thought, every industry would be moving to the cloud, and law would be among them. And that was the kernel of the idea for Clio, and we were both software developers, so we started building the first version of the product back in 2008.
Did you have significant competition at that point?
No, we were really surprised when we looked around at the landscape and saw what we thought was a very obvious opportunity to deliver, a cloud-based application for lawyers, and saw that there was no competition. We hunted everywhere and couldn't find any startups doing it. We couldn't find any of the incumbents in the space developing anything for this application. And I remember a friend of mine at the time told me, if you have what looks like a really great idea that has no competition, it's either a stupid idea or you're about to become very wealthy. And we kind of
it was the second one.
we kind of hoped it was the latter and jumped in with both feet. Yeah.
Good. So you started working on the product, and that was 2007, right? The product started to gain weight, to become more
Yeah, that's right.
consistent.
Back 2008, actually, we started developing the product.
Right.
And we launched the beta for the product in March of 2008.
Right.
And launched the official for-pay version of the product in October of 2008.
How was the initial feedback from the market? Did you have like consistent growth, or was it like more bumpy in the first months till you figured it out?
I think it was certainly bumpy in the first few months when we launched the beta. So when we launched the beta, we had what we thought was our MVP, our minimum viable product that would be feature complete enough for a lawyer to actually pay us for the product. And it turned out we were missing a couple of really major features in that MVP that we thought we could get away without. So those two features were billing and document management. On the billing piece, we thought we could do this in version 2. Same thing with document management, and the very consistent feedback from the early beta customers was, no, you absolutely need both of these features for this to be a usable product. So between March and October of 2008, we just worked tirelessly to get those features incorporated into the product. And then when we launched in 2008, it was, in October of 2008, it was great. We had a minimum viable complete product that the market would actually pay for.
Okay, so when did the first investment round happen? So you told me a very funny story about getting the first investment from Christopher Jans, the guy who later founded Point 9 Capital.
Yeah, that's right. So we founded the company in early 2008. We raised about $100,000 of friends and family money over the course of 2008. And then near the end of 2008 decided, okay, we're starting to see some initial traction. We think we've got product market fit. Let's go raise between a $500,000 and a $1 million seed round. And around, I remember it felt like around the exact time we decided to start raising money, I remember looking at the cover of The Economist that had a picture of all the world's banks going down the drain. And we're in the midst of the financial collapse of 2008, 2009. And in North America, it was just impossible to raise capital. We were giving pitches to angel investors, to VCs, and getting this very frustrating feedback, actually, that we had a phenomenal pitch deck, what looked like a great opportunity and something they would normally invest in. But sorry, we're just not writing checks because we're not sure the economy is going to survive. People were really legitimately scared. It's easy to forget that, with the benefit of 7 years of progress, but people were really, really scared. And in the meantime, we received.
Were you making money at that point?
Yeah, we had early revenue. We had probably our first 100 customers paying at that point. So early traction, not massive revenue by any means, but really excellent month-over-month growth. Really excellent feedback from early customers and early product reviewers. So we had everything we needed to raise that initial round. And what happened in the interim? This is the funny part of the story. This guy named Christoph Jans emailed us. Just cold emailed us. He read about us on some completely obscure blog and thought the product looked interesting. He had just sold one of his companies and decided to start angel investing. The first company he invested in was a little company out of Copenhagen called Zendesk.
That went well.
That went well. He invested in that when it was just 4 guys in a bar in Copenhagen, and helped bring them to Boston and then San Francisco. And the second company he invested in was Cleo. And the way he found us was this obscure blog. He sent us an email to our info@gocleo.com email address and asked if we'd be interested in investment from him. And we were using one of the first versions of Google Apps at that point. And I think everything about Christoph's email screamed spam. He was sending from a web.de email address. He was talking about investment. So I think Google's algorithms figured he was a Nigerian scam artist and filed his email to spam, and we didn't notice it. We of course didn't. We trusted Google's spam filter, went right to the spam folder, And then we inadvertently slow played Christoph as well by virtue of this going in the spam filter. So 2 weeks later, he emailed us again saying, hey, I'm actually legitimately interested in this. I'd really like to talk to you guys. And that follow-up email also went right to the spam filter. So, I'm pounding the pavement in all over North America trying to raise money, and we've got this guy from Germany emailing us going right to the spam filter. And in what I can only describe as an act of God, my co-founder one day was on a customer support call where he was so bored that he said to himself, I wonder what's in the spam folder, and looked in the spam folder. He'd never looked in it before. I don't think he's ever looked in it since, and found this email from Christoph, forwarded it to me and said, this looks legit. I reach out to Christoph, and at the end of the day, he ended up leading our Series A, and has just been a phenomenal mentor and advisor to us over the last 7 years. So
First rule of investment, check your spam.
check your spam folder, absolutely. That's your one takeaway lesson from the talk today.
Cool. So that was the Series A. You already had early traction. Things were looking good. What was the impact of having Christopher Jans, who is a renowned software as a service investor, and the company as a mentor in the early days?
Well, it was it was great for me and Ryan because we were both technology guys. We both had, I think, very good product instincts. But we were, this whole field of software as a service and the economics of growing a SaaS company it was like a black art in those days, right? There was no Jason Lemkin, there was no David Skok, there was no white papers from Bessemer Venture Partners.
Yeah.
There's no SaaStr. It was a complete vacuum. Everyone was just making it up as they went along. Simple concepts that we take for granted today, like customer acquisition costs, lifetime value, LTV to CAC ratios, CAC payback periods, all of these things.
All those metrics were actually invented in that period.
That's right. All those metrics were invented over the course of 2008, 2009, 2010. So what Christoph was able to bring to the table for us was, hey, here's these later stage companies like Zendesk that I'm involved in. Here's some of the metrics we're tracking. Here's how we can incorporate these into the financial forecasts for the company. Here's the kinds of experiments we should be running to prove that we can acquire customers and so on. And it was just, there's a lot of angel investors, I think, that write you a check and just say, I'll check back in 5 years.
Good luck.
Please don't lose my money. Good luck. Exactly. And Christoph was just so engaged and so helpful to us, in those early days, especially where we were just getting our feet, understanding how to learn how to build a SaaS business. And by the time we raised our Series B, we'd really built a successful customer acquisition engine that other investors were happy to put more money behind.
Yes, just to underline the key thing that I think you told us regarding this, it's really important to figure out what are your key parameters that you're looking at, key metrics, and just deliver on those over and over and over again.
Exactly. Pick your key metrics, know what you're optimizing against, and I think the other key thing that we've done between every investment round is proven what customer acquisition channels we can build on. Mm-hmm. And I think any investor that's investing, especially in a SaaS business, wants to be investing in customer acquisition. They want to see a fire that they can pour gasoline on and help scale up more rapidly. Mm-hmm. They don't want to pay for product development. They don't want risk around product market fit. They really want certainty around customer acquisition, and I think that's one of the best things you can do before every investment round is just say, here's the experiments we ran, here's what we were able to acquire customer-wise from these various channels, here's what the unit economics are, and by the way, we think these 3 channels are really scalable. And that's something an investor will put money behind 10 out of 10 times.
So when was that, 2009?
So Christoph's investment was 2009, that's right.
Right,
yeah.
So you started in 2008. Was it just the two of you until 2009?
Yeah, it was really just the two of us kind of bootstrapping, and it's interesting actually. We started off in 2008 having really drunk the 37 signals Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, fuck VCs, we don't need to raise money, we can just bootstrap this thing.
Have a chill life.
Yeah, just
and
have a chill
everything.
life. We thought, hey, this would be great if this could be, a lifestyle business for us. And I think one of the things we realized over the course of raising money, and one of the things Christoph helped us realize as well, is that a lot of SaaS businesses are winner-take-all kind of propositions. You look at Salesforce, you look at Zendesk is another good example. Name the top CRM, Salesforce. Who's number 2?
Yeah.
You probably can't say. Yeah. Who's number 3? You definitely can't say. It's just they've won the market and they have 100% of the mind share. And I think there's a lot of SaaS markets like that. And you need to, if you're going to go for that Salesforce kind of positioning and land grab, you need to expand rapidly. And you need a lot of cash to fuel that customer acquisition engine. And one of the things that's very kind of paradoxical about SaaS growth is the faster you're growing, the faster you're burning cash, because all of your customer acquisition costs are front-loaded. Mm-hmm. And this was one of the things that was the real light bulb moment for us, where we realized, the 37 Signals story of bootstrapping is cute, and it's great that it worked for them, but they've got a very unique business, a lot of very unique circumstances that lets them scale that business. If you're almost anyone else, you'll just need a lot of money to scale and to get to that number 1 position where you can start experiencing flywheel effects and all the other benefits of being the market leader. And that's what drove us to raise that first big round of funding, big for us at the time at least, $1 million, and then to go out and raise our Series B and then our Series C.
So now we talked about the financial metrics and product metrics, but 2009 you're still 2 people, and now we are 6 years later, and you're
175 people
175.
Now, yeah.
How do you manage to grow the company and create a culture and go through another 2 financing rounds and just make it work for everybody?
Right.
Well, probably not for everybody, but at least for the most important ones.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for sure. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of challenges you go through those different stages of growth. I think for me, one of the most fun times of building the company was when we were 10 or 15 people, because everybody just knows what everybody else is doing. You don't need to talk about mission or values or OKRs or strategic plans.
It's like mind sharing.
Yeah, it's like everyone's just done a mind meld and knows what the goals are, intrinsically knows what the company's values are, and are also forming those in real time, because those first 10 people that you hire really create the DNA of the company. They really form the backbone of what the company will ultimately become. So that was a very fun time, and a couple of the major transitions I've noticed, like inflection points over the course of the last 7 years, was probably hitting around 75 people was one where I realized, I had a couple of funny experiences. First, for the first time ever, I'd walk into the lunchroom and look at somebody and wonder, have we hired this person? Is this a new employee? And it's entirely possible I'd never met them or heard about them being hired, which for me was a really kind of eye-opening moment. The other thing I noticed is that kind of automatic instinct around what matters, what the values are, what the goals are, what wasn't as automatic as it was when it was 10 people. And we kind of realized we need to communicate our values more clearly, which meant writing down our values. So this was around 2 years ago when we were around 75 people, we launched a team that was both new employees as well as tenured employees, and we asked them, what do you think the company's key values are? And we wrote them down and kind of enshrined our 7 key values in a document and started talking about them at a company level so that people understood this is what we care about. And more importantly, as part of the hiring process, we started making these really explicit values that we were looking for in the hiring process for people that want to play by these rules, basically, want to play against these set of values.
When was this restructuring?
This was about 2 years ago.
Right, so that was when you were
crossing 75 people towards 100, yeah. It was where we noticed that kind of inflection point, and maybe a bit of that breakdown where things aren't automatic and just instinctual for the employees. And then, crossing, 100 people or so, the phase 2 of that was implementing a goal-setting system for the company, and we used a system currently using a system called OKRs for objectives and key results. This is a system that was developed at Google, is actually developed at Intel originally, and it helps you set top-level company goals and communicate what the company is trying to achieve. And then individual departments and then individual people can align their own objectives and key results against those high-level goals. And again, one of the things that's surprising is, before implementing this, it was surprising how often we hear from just, an average employee that I'm not sure what the company's goals are. And, again, it was kind of obvious to, the founders and the executive team, but once you get a few levels of hierarchy in the company, it can become pretty opaque to, somebody that's running frontline support, for example. So we found this system to be really useful and really powerful to communicate to the company, here's what we care about, and if you want to help us deliver against what we care about, here's what you should be aligning your individual efforts and your department level efforts against.
So right now, when you're at 175, what's the next challenge that you see happening in the very near future?
Well, a lot of these challenges you only see in the rear view mirror. You kind of
Right.
realize you're having a problem and you figure out solutions for how to solve them. So some of the, I'm not sure exactly what the next challenge or problem will be, but I anticipate it will be around scaling past this 150 number of employees. This is like the Dunbar number, right? This is beyond the maximum ability of a human being to kind of understand all the individual players on a team. We now have 3 offices. We have 30 or 40 people in Toronto. We have around 10 people in Dublin. We have over 20 remote employees that work from home all over Canada. So maintaining tight communication and helping everyone feel like they're part of one team is a big challenge, especially with multiple offices. It's a big enough challenge to create a culture that you're proud of and happy with in one office. You put a new set of leaders and a new set of hires in a brand new office, you're going to get a different culture. And again, we don't expect it to be the same, but we want it to be aligned against and living the values that we care about as well. So I think that will be, I think this next phase of going from 175, to 300 plus employees will be a very interesting and very, very challenging phase because it's just a lot of people to kind of get marshaled behind one goal.
So we had this conversation yesterday, and we said that we'll be talking about financing people and product mostly, and we spent just a little bit of time on product.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get back to that and ask you something about something that you told me yesterday. So yesterday you told me that our product, which is a bundle of project management
Yes.
and other tools around that, can be used by mostly everybody. I mean, that you don't have
Right.
to be a lawyer.
That's right. Yeah.
To use that,
Yeah.
Which I found very interesting because we see a lot of projects from which are developed by guys from Romania who have excellent technical capabilities, and they create the software, and then you ask them, like being in your position, you ask them who can use this software, and they say, well, everybody.
Right.
Which is true, but in terms of doing the right marketing and sales, the fact that everybody can use that doesn't mean that you have to market or distribute it to everybody.
Right.
So what made the difference for your product to be like a really solid buying option for lawyers and not for the rest?
Yeah, so that's right. So one of the interesting things about Clio is even though it's marketed specifically for lawyers, if you look at what Clio does at its core, it's project management, time and billing, and client collaboration. So when you look at that core feature set, that could be used by any professional, really. It could be used by accountants, it could be used by engineers, it could be used by freelancers. There's all sorts of professions that could use something like Clio. And I think the natural instinct for most entrepreneurs is to, and this is maybe a reaction, from VCs that are always asking this question as well. They're trying to maximize their total addressable market, right? Trying to maximize their TAM. So, the natural instinct for a product like Clio would be, look, we're a project management and time billing solution for everyone, the freelance economy, which is huge, engineers, accountants, lawyers, service companies, you name it, a massive TAM that any VC would get excited about. But what we decided to do is, I'm a big believer in the 4 Steps to the Epiphany book that talks about customer development and really focusing on a specific customer. And I read this book when we were first creating Clio, and it was so impactful to me, and I decided, we should really be targeting this product specifically to one demographic to start with. Let's get started with lawyers, solve that problem really effectively for lawyers, and move on to other areas as we, once we feel like we've maximized the opportunity with lawyers. And the nice thing we saw with lawyers as well is they're kind of funny creatures in that they really want to see solutions designed specifically for lawyers.
Right.
They don't trust solutions that are made for freelancers or accountants or a generalized horizontal product. They want to see products that are designed specifically for lawyers, and we saw all of our initial traction, I think, thanks to the fact that we marketed Clio as a product specifically for lawyers. And then along the way, we also discovered that the legal market is massive, that we could become a $100 million company before we'd ever have to worry about expanding into other verticals like accounting. So for the audience here, I think that the take-home lesson would be, while it's tempting to be as generic and generalized as possible and maximize your potential addressable market, sometimes you can actually get a far better outcome focusing on a narrower niche or narrower vertical and go deep in that vertical. And there can be really, really great outcomes for companies that specialize in that way. And I personally think that'll be the next wave of SaaS innovation, is products focused on very specific verticals, building highly tailored and deep solutions, kind of full stack solutions for different industries.
So we are kind of closing. We're getting close to the end of the conversation. If you guys have questions, you can raise your hand. I have a couple of more questions for Jack for sure, and somebody will bring you a microphone at some point. We have a question there, I think.
Is it available in Romania too?
Is it available in Romania as well?
Technically, yes. So anyone worldwide can sign up for it, but we do not have the product regionalized for Romania right now.
We don't need that because, like in Romania, everybody speaks English.
Perfect. So the answer is yes then. Yeah. So good question. So the question is, law is different in different jurisdictions, and that's true, of course. But the part of running a law practice that Clio helps manage is the same in every country. If you're a lawyer in Romania or you're a lawyer in Australia or a lawyer in the United States, the way that you need to manage your projects and the way you need to keep track of your tasks and your calendar and your documents and all of those things is very consistent. So that's one of the nice things we found is we've seen significant traction internationally. Clio's used, I think it's over 55 countries now have at least one paying customer in them without us actively marketing in any of those countries. We've just grown organically because, again, the way that you need to run a law practice is very consistent regardless of the country. Oh, I think there's one in the...
Yeah.
My name is Dumitru. I'm from Real Estate Business Solutions. We are developing a CRM for real estate market. We are a company for 2 years now. 1.5 years is our product. We are leaders here in Romania, and next year we want to expand to internationally. We have now 500 companies that are using our platform. How you suggest to grow in different countries? Because we have a problem of it's a real estate market. You need to adjust to different countries.
Right.
Because you have a lot of real estate portals, websites. This is one of the biggest USPs of our product, marketing automation. You just press one click and your ad, your properties from your portfolio goes to different websites. Yes, my question is, we have two strategies to go to one country, laser focused, or to go to 5 or 10 countries in one second. And we can expand to Europe or to go directly to US market. What is your suggestion? Thank you.
Just to figure it out, so the options are go to one country or to multiple countries and focus on Europe. So there are two questions actually. Focus on Europe or on US?
Yeah, so great question. You know, I maybe have a North American-centric viewpoint being based there, but even after the success we've seen internationally with Clio, 90% of our revenue is from the US. You know, it's just for almost any kind of software you can imagine, the biggest market. And not only that, but one of the most important markets to win. It seems like if you can win the US, there's a huge kind of domino effect going to other countries. And I think one of the things some companies do is they try to go international too quickly before properly solidifying their position in the US. So, you know, I think if your market is, if your product rather is viable in the US and you think you have a decent shot at penetrating that market, go after that aggressively. I think if you have a window there that there's, you know, not aggressive competition and you can execute there, 100% focus, you know, all of your effort on getting traction in the US. And then I think that's the added benefit of attracting all the capital that's available in the US if you demonstrate traction there as well. The other thing I'll share, you know, just in terms of kind of expansion strategies, because I think real estate and law share a lot in common in terms of the associations and so on that lawyers have to belong to, real estate agents have to as well. Look at the associations that real estate agents are members of as one of the kind of like go-to-market partners that you could leverage in entering a new market as well. So establish those key partnerships. And for us, that's been a really important part of our growth internationally, is taking the playbook that we used in the United States of partnering with bar associations, rolling out to the lawyers that are members of those bar associations with a discount program, using them as marketing partners, getting their endorsement, all of those things. We've now taken that playbook and, you know, country by country, we're deploying that internationally. But I think if you can make your beachhead the United States, that's the best place to start. Okay, I think our time is up. Thanks, Jack. Thank you. And you'll be around if people want to get in touch with you? I'll hang around if anyone has questions that we're not able to tackle in person today. I'm jack@clio.com, so please feel free to send me an email. It's a real pleasure. Thanks, Bogdan. Hopefully that will not get to spam folder. Yeah, and Ryan will check the spam filter for me. Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Give that to me. Perfect.
Thank you very much.